So I'm between the View and Bliss. I'm kind of in that grove that's there. And then there's a little bit of a cleared spot here where I've imagined digging down at. That's right, I wasn't going to dig down up there. What I was referring to earlier may not have been correct. But if this whole area was just dug way down, 3 stories. Now, there's no reason to start doing that by hand if I'm going to do a bulldozer. We don't want to do things by hand that a machine is better suited for given the total circumstances we're in. It may sound romantic and neat to have, thousands and tens of thousands of wheelbarrow loads of dirt moved from one place to another, and that is pretty cool. But it's not so cool if you're the person who has to do it or pay someone else to do it, because that's a very energy-intensive, expensive proposition. So if you can use a bulldozer, use a bulldozer. I would, or the claw thing, whatever, excavator. I don't know what tool, whatever. But hauling all this out of here, and also if you decide you don't want to dump the excess dirt downhill, then that's a problem. Because you don't want to make that soft dirt place that then you want to dig up to put another building below it. So that's the real problem there. And so generally, as far as building these kind of on-slope buildings that I'm imagining, this would be the top of it, right? This would be a plaza. It could be a 1-story building. It's true. I mean, let's really talk about that. I mean, these are hard decisions that affect a piece of land forever. And these are the kind of decisions that got us the kind of cities we have now. It's some of which have very innovative and great things about them, but many of which suck totally. So not sucking as much would be cool. In this particular place, this is what I'm envisioning for this building, okay? It goes almost to Bliss. It goes to this grove right here. It's not that wide. It's pretty wide. Depends on how you look at it. And actually, it's this side of the shower thingy there. We built a weird thingy over there out of ferro cement. And so I should measure how many meters that is across. And then the slope is fine. I'm not worried about erosion because if we pull all the dirt out of here, that's the hard part. So even with a bulldozer, we're still going to do thousands of wheelbarrow loads of dirt because bulldozers aren't very good at moving dirt to other places. It costs a lot for them to do that, I think. That's my impression. They're very slow and noisy. I don't know where I'd put that dirt. I know where I'd put some of it. I'd put it over near the entry over here to raise that up and change the water flow. And I might raise a different area as well. It's more dirt than that, though. That's a lot of dirt. I could use it to run it all the way over to fill in the barranca. What's the difference? Like if I have one of those scoopy things, on a tractor, and then the cost to run it over to the barranca. What is that? What is the cost, per trip? And then how many trips are there? That seems very, very costly. Another option would be to have a bulldozer just push it all downhill and that we don't plant it. And we know that it's soft dirt and we track it as soft dirt. And that way we can use it later. We could use it for construction. We could plant some, annuals in it if we want, but don't invest in it because the idea is to have buildings all the way down, right? The building below supporting the building above and the building above that supporting the building as well. So we have multi-layer systems that allow us. This is the hardest thing to understand about this kind of a, Greek island, those white buildings on the side of a hill thing. Like building on slope. How can we build on slope better? That's my essential question. Because flat space has so much value and we tend to just roll over it and pave it. I really don't think that's wise. And so how can we build on slope and share systems where you should memorize this if you're interested in this, and if you're an architect, talk to me about it, and I want to design these systems. This is how you do it. This is how you make an actually sustainable building. It isn't just meeting LEED certification stuff. It isn't making an expensive building nobody can build in poor places. It's real solutions that we can implement using materials people have in a rural place and are within their budget. And that's every system there is in the entire house. So I'd love to work with architects on that. the basic idea I'm describing here, and the thing that I want to do on this slope, right, all the way down to the dimple, is dig down to bedrock so we know what we're building on, right? Make a lot of side paths out of the building, so transit in and out of the building is really easy. Foot traffic, dropping stuff off here with a truck that goes into root cellar system, you know, on the slope or something. People who want to enjoy the view, people who want to be up in the morning and watch the sunrise, and they can be outside if they want. There's decks for that. There's plenty of places. But if they want to, they could be behind double pane glass and enjoying it while they're drinking their coffee and chatting with their friends in a pleasant, warm location. Maybe with baby chickens around, because I do have the idea of combining a solar brooder with kind of a social space for people to create chickens from the get-go, from the first day they hatch, get them socialized to really like people and to be very individual. Basically, pet chickens that give you eggs, and eventually you kill them and eat them. People don't like that part. But I would like to promote raising of chickens by improving every part of the chicken process, and then get more chickens into more houses. I just believe that that's makes for a better society, a stronger society, you know. And then we can live with dinosaurs. You know, they're descended from dinosaurs. They're really cool. And do you know what they're actually descended from more lately? Where do they come from in the world? It's a quiz. What country? Indonesia. That's right, if you were right. That's wrong if you were wrong. It comes from red jungle fowl, which live in this fairly hot climate. That's why chickens like heat a lot. That's why they crack out of their egg at a very hot temperature. Their egg needs to be at a very specific high temperature. So that's why you have egg incubators, you know. Because this red jungle fowl that we have bred, as we bred dogs, into many forms. All of them came from it, just like all the breeds of dogs come from wolf, you know. We don't have breeds of dogs that came from hyenas, apparently. Supposedly they all came from wolves. I find that odd, but I know there's been attempts to breed silver foxes in Russia, and now that's, I guess, continuing a little bit. So, oh, God, I talk about dogs a lot. I like dogs. So yeah, we're back at this little spot here, and the thing is, it's really a special spot. Just digging it down seems pretty harsh, but any kind of development to create any kind of building will create destruction. That is how it is. I don't understand anti-development people. How do they think that they got the house they're living in, you know? The question is, how do we develop? And that's what I want to change here, is change our entire notion of how we build buildings and why and where and how. I have a lot of opinions about that after reading a lot of books on architecture and land use design and city planning, and I got some weird books too. You know, I read the books by the weird guys. Big surprise. But I think we have to be, you know, outside the norm. We have to break away from our current construction methods in a great many ways to become more sustainable. The way we build in many places in the world is not perfect. In some cases it's bad. In most cases it's just not perfect. You know, it's not prepared for the future world that's about to exist. So after leveling off this area in here, in this nice grove of trees, so I'm back to the part we're not going to cut down, right? We're not going to sink down. This is just going to be a protected grove of trees right here forever. It blocks the wind, it provides some shade. After we level it, then we can also consider what we might want to plant in here. Now, most plants won't do that well, and that's a big problem because the oak leaves cover them up if they're too small. But I think we should plant this with everything we can that might do well. And that is maguey. We've already planted some magueys over there. We can plant other kinds of maguey for some visual interest. We have a variegated one that is now growing. And this would be a great flat spot right in here. I don't imagine these much as fire spots, but it's possible that in the rainy season, or the beginning or end. Oh, there's a variegated Maguey right over there we put in there. It's doing really well. It's super happy. That is awesome. And here's Red Hot Poker we put in. I guess what I would also say as far as design things is the order in which you implement the stages of it is super important. Duh. In this case, we shouldn't be planting here at all until we even it all out. Now there are other options for how we can even it out too. You know, one of them is digging, right? Another one that's fairly interesting is land sculpting with sawdust. It sounds a little silly, but I have free sawdust. It clears an area really well and lets you see what's there. It flattens out a spot that's a little bit too low. Like this spot kind of slopes down and then slopes back up, you know? This is a spot where I want more, if I could just dump a load of dirt right here, like, I don't know, 10 carretillas, but generally when we flatten somewhere, we just dig it down on the upper side, then put it to the lower side. I'm questioning that because it's a lot of work. It disturbs more soil in a way, you know, depending on how you do it. In this case, we have an upper level up there, and then we have a lower level here. Could we fill in this whole thing slowly with sawdust, making like trails and making sitting areas, and it marks them too. It marks them very clearly, and it's a fairly natural, biodegradable way to mark them. You know, like I can mark them with cal or something, which is white. I have marked trails in progress with that before. But in here, why not fill it, in other words? Which is an odd thing to say, because I'm right over there. I want to dig it all down. But I think flattening this out would be great, and I think filling it's a great idea. There's definitely an up to it, so there's a slight hill over there. I don't really want to terrace it, I guess. In fact, I don't want to terrace it. I want to subtly flatten it into maybe 2 terraces here, and then not have it be like an edge between them, but have it be just, it tends to be steeper right there. In other words, it'd be subtle effect. Subtle effect, nobody would even know. And I would recommend we do that, any work like that we do before we plant it. I would really love vines in all these oaks. Oh my gosh, that would be so pretty. Oaks make great structure for vines to go on. And what we would do with that is find places where we knew there wasn't a trail, right? That's another thing is, if we're going to have flat spots, then we have to figure out where do we want people and keep them from walking all over the place. Block them with plants. Seriously, like channel them where you want them to go and don't let them go elsewhere, or they will trample the entire space. That is what people do. That is what we do as a species, and it stops right here, right now. That is not going to happen in this space. And I'm going to use plants to block people from trampling it. It's a tricky spot. It's really hard to figure out what this should be for. But it's a great spot. I need a space to sit down out here. I did think about that as I'm walking around and rehabilitating my legs. I've had some setbacks lately, and something's going on that's bad, and I'm fixing it, hopefully. I'm not sure I'm done yet, but see, in here we've already, I don't remember what we've done in here completely, but there used to be pines over here. We've already kind of favored the trees that look cooler. They're not that cool, but they're pretty cool. Like this one has a lot of branches to it, and that one has a lot of branches to it, meaning it just doesn't have one trunk, it branches off. And the reason I like that is because in the crook of every single branch thing is a great spot to plant orchids and to plant bromeliads and epiphytic cacti. There's an epiphytic cacti that's native here. I only have a little bit of it, and I'm trying to reproduce it, and it hasn't gotten as much attention as it should get, really. It's just, I got a lot of stuff I'm doing, but oh god, that'd be so cool to like, because I have some tree climbing equipment, and we could climb up these trees. Like that one over there is a black oak, it doesn't lose its leaves. This one does. We need to remember and mark these too. We really got to do it. This one would be the better one, I think, because it has more shade up there. It's still pretty dang exposed. So, and there's a lot of wind here and stuff because there's a slope down there. And so this is a tough spot for any plant to live, especially one maybe up in a tree. So, but I'd like to try it. And that's why we've been growing these orchids all these years. People do come to me and ask me to buy if they can buy plants. My answer at the moment is no. I give away trees one time a year to locals, and they're not useful to somebody far away anyway. So, oh, this could be really cool in here. Hi, Coco. And we put cacti over there. There's a bunch of branches here. Not much we can do about that. Talked about that in other videos. People could join up with a Bosque staff member to go out and collect firewood for their wood-fired stove. But they cannot collect on their own. I have to protect the forest above all else, and that's just a rule.